Excellent. I am so grateful to be here with you today as we choose collectively and individually to be the energies of heaven on earth, so that can be our experience, so that we can be the forerunners of the liberation that is at hand. And truly, when I connected to what this session wanted to be today, I'm shown this vision of entanglements that some of us may still have in the old ways of being, the old paradigm, the 3D earth that functions from separation. And what we're being invited into today is to really attune to multidimensional Gaia that's already transcended beyond those systems. And it's challenging for our conscious minds, because our conscious minds are under assumptions that the proof is in the pudding, the proof is out here, the proof is in the manifestation. And it sort of is, but not in the way the mind thinks it is. So the mind wants to interpret it as though, well, if heaven were already available, then we'd see it. It would be out here. And many of you, if not all of you, know and have remembered how energy actually functions and how this realm actually functions, which is that we first welcome the energies and attune to the energies, and then they will show up, then they will manifest. But we're really the gateways for that. And when we wrote about in the description of what this event wanted to be, what this session, this collective session wanted to be, it was really about us stepping into this new definition of what it even means to be of service. Because what if you, being incarnated at this time, choosing what you're choosing in the ways you're choosing it, in other words, you're here in this session, so you're a forerunner, you're one of the ones who's ripe and ready to really bring these energies in, these new energies to birth the new earth. And it can only birth through us. That's the key. So when we begin to choose it for ourselves, so yes, we're choosing it for the collective, but not really. That's the side effect. We're choosing it first and foremost for ourselves, because we can only choose for ourselves. That's the sovereignty piece of oneness, that I'm a divine being with infinite potential and I have infinite choice. And in this now moment, I'm choosing to remember that I have the ability to bring in heaven into my experience by being willing to attune to those frequencies that a part of me knows already exists. I don't have to create them. I don't have to create these frequencies. I simply choose to be a vehicle for them. I simply choose, because I have infinite choice, to align to the vibrations that allow heaven to birth through me as a manifestation in my own world, in my own experience for myself. And then the ripple effect is, this is how it's being of service, because to teach is to demonstrate. As you do it for you, the one next to you is going to go, oh, how are you doing that? I want that too. I'm going to start doing what you're doing. And so the thing is, it's not always a conscious process. So the one next to you picks up on an unconscious level the different frequencies and vibrations that you're choosing for you. And then it's like this side effect of in training to the higher vibration, because all life really, 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 really wants to go into more. That's the impulse. That's the law of increase that we actually function in. So are you willing to remember that you actually are a being of light that has access to and functions in the law of increase, where everything in your being, everything in your life actually wishes to expand into a higher frequency and into a greater expression, more honoring expression. And that's actually what wishes to occur. You can call it the impulse of creation. You can call it the divine blueprint. But it's inherent within you. It's not something you have to figure out or create. It already is. And as I'm speaking about it, the Council of Light is showing me this kind of access point within your DNA. And so allow the part of you that knows to locate whatever this is for you, if you wish, this is your choice, your access point for remembering this impulse of moving into greater, more honoring expressions in all areas of your life as an actual part of you, as something you innately know and are. It's part of your expression itself, is this desire and this impulse to move into a more honoring, a more contributing expression to you and to all life. Because as you choose to honor yourself, you are honoring all life. It's really all under those laws of oneness that untangle us from the separation-based old world vibrations of win-lose as a way of being. So are you willing to hold those up to your higher self, to retire as this part of you that knows is locating and activating within you and almost bringing to the forefront this part of you that knows how to follow the light, that knows how to choose in a way that brings you into a more honoring expression as an innate gift, as an innate trait, as an innate way of being. Are you willing to remember you as that, as the one who knows how to function in the truth of you, in your infinite nature, that will always bring forth the most honoring, the most honoring experience and expression for you and for your life? And are you willing to be that? So what they show me is, like, when we're choosing this, what comes up is these entanglements of where we're still maybe trying to prove our worth, or we're still trying to figure out the separation-based, it's almost like reconcile the separation-based ways of being in order to have the truth. And what if you actually don't need to do anything with those entanglements in the old matrix, the 3D separation-based systems, in order to choose what you're choosing? So everywhere you think it's a really arduous process of having to dissect and analyze and figure out from this level, can we show you how to hand over that responsibility to your higher self, to the part of you that knows, to the mastery of you that already exists, and to release the need to understand it from this level, to understand why I chose it before, how it's working, or what it even is. Because what if it's almost like we're in the midst of a true and false test? And I don't like to use the word test when we're talking about spirituality, but as an example, when you're taking a true and false test, it's either true or it's not. And there's no in between, right? And we don't have to really figure out and dissect everything about why this part of it is false, or where the false parts came from, or blah, da, 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 in order to have what's true, in order to know what's true. So will you allow yourself to move into a grace and ease sorting process where you simply release what isn't true in order to have what is? And you release the need to understand why it wasn't true in order to just know the truth of you. Because there's a piece here that's so interesting in how our minds, our linear minds, process information. is that many times we're looking in the box that we're currently living in for the answer of why this isn't true, when a part of us just knows it isn't true. It doesn't feel in alignment with who I am. It feels off. It feels distorted. It's not love. It's not freedom. It's not who I really am. And I can feel that. And so what if that's enough? And what if as soon as we recognize that, oh, this must be a place and a space where I'm tangled in an old paradigm of separation, that somehow I'm separate from source, that somehow I lack in some way. And that's really all we have to know. And I just gave examples, but we don't even have to go that far. We just know it isn't true. In our being, we know it isn't true. And this is part of what we're talking about when we talk about being heaven on earth. It's a vibration, it's a consciousness that we're aligned with, that we're vibrating at, that we simply choose to align with what's true and to release everything else, because it served us up to a point, and we can bow to it and we can thank it and we can release it in order to choose again, in order to welcome what we would welcome. So for many of us, we've spent lifetimes kind of rolling around in the separation, in the entanglements of what isn't true, in order to be ready for this step. So can we acknowledge how it served us up until this point, that it prepared us to take this step? We did all of our learning. We did all of our gaining more clarity, fanning that flame of desire to really know who we are instead. That can now catapult us into fifth dimensional, multidimensional Gaia as an experience here in this physical realm. So the other pieces that are stepping forward now is anywhere you're resisting or judging being in this realm as something wrong or bad, or something you're trying to escape from, or it's like they're showing me the idea of somebody in a prison cell. It's like, I'm just doing my time. I can't wait till it's over. You chose to incarnate at this time because you knew all that you could have in the evolution of your consciousness through this experience of what we're actually birthing here. And it's pretty incredible what we're birthing here. So are you willing to connect to the possibilities of what you actually came here to create for yourself, remember for yourself, align to for yourself in a multidimensional way, not just the physical experience, but all the stuff that's happening for you on a multidimensional level, as far as the evolution of your consciousness, the return to love that you're undertaking. Are you willing to connect to all of that treasure that you're actually accessing by being present in this incarnation in whatever way it's showing up for you right now, so that you can begin to let go of any resistance to being here, whether it was, and I can speak from my own experience, whether it was a car accident that has kind of brought on this whole spiral effect of maybe moving through some shifts with the body or finances or whatever may be showing up for you and whatever has shown up for you. Are you willing to release all the judgment around it? Are you willing to release anywhere where you're in resistance to what is or what has been? Because that's just a way that we're plugging into the old, and we're not, therefore, welcoming this heaven on earth that wishes to birth through us. So without having to understand it, are you simply willing to invite your higher self to begin to support you in releasing all the meaning and the judgment you've given, maybe the issues, or the word karma is coming up, whatever we think it is? What if it isn't what we think it is? Are you willing to release all the meaning you've given it in order to create the space for the new to come in? Because many times what happens in this idea of us bringing in a new experience for ourselves, if we feel stuck or we feel like this is something I've been working on forever and it hasn't shifted, many times it comes down to a place in a space where we've given it meaning it doesn't have, or we've built a certain expectation around it that isn't true. So are you willing to hand all of that over to your higher self? All the judgments, conclusions, and meaning you've given it throughout all time and space dimensions for you and for your body. And this is your choice. So none of this, so the thing with this work they want me to clarify here, and some of you may be new to what it is that is shared through me in the Council of Light, is that none of this is done to you. This is all like being offered on the table for you to pick up if you choose. And it's really you working with your higher self. Your higher self is collaborating with the Council of Light, your guides, your advisors, your angels, the masters working with you to do the work. So it's not disempowering in any way. It's you stepping fully into your power of choice and choosing to open, to elevate, to remember. And the mind will only be able to gather information on a conscious level based on what it's letting in. And so when we say, are you willing to release all the meaning and conclusions, what that does is it releases the walls of the box that we built for ourselves so we can actually let in new information. And the mind sometimes then can actually even move into an aha, or now that we're no longer in this box and we've kind of opened a window, we can allow new possibilities to actually come in to be witnessed, experienced, or realized. We access more of who we are. Because who you are is completely out of conclusion. The only certainty that it anchors itself in is the knowing of who it is as an extension of an infinite source. And that's really the truth of you. So everything that we've experienced that doesn't align with that truth is simply places and spaces where we've agreed to other things that weren't true. And because we're that powerful, if we believe it, it will manifest as that. And so when we speak about belief, we also want to clarify that we're pointing to not only your conscious beliefs, but also the unconscious beliefs. And many times what we've done in our incarnations is we've kind of agreed to things just because everybody else was agreeing to it. We thought that's just the way it was. And so many times we find that we somewhat inherit our family's belief systems or ways of being with certain areas of life, like ways of being with the body, or ways of being with money, or ways of being with job or career or relationships and loved ones. And by inheriting it in a way, we still agreed to it, but we just maybe didn't realize we did consciously. We then kind of plug into that matrix, and that's what's powering our experience. So all the matrices, the grid systems, and ways of being that you agreed to that aren't really serving you, that really aren't even yours, are you willing to invite your higher self to begin lifting those up and off of all systems, components, and levels of your being so that you can be more clear about what you're choosing and what you would really choose to choose, instead of it being like an assumption of that we don't even know we're doing on a conscious level, but like this assumption of, well, this is just the way it is. We never have enough money, or there's never enough time, or I'm not good enough, or we have to prove our worth. You know, all of those assumptions that aren't even yours, that may even be collective or humanity, that on some level you or your body took on to try and process and elevate for someone else, for anybody else. Are you willing to return it to its right and perfect place with love and consciousness and appropriate energetic information, and simply be the being of light that you truly be, so that we're in a space of space instead of contraction. And these energies of heaven and earth that wish to birth through you will birth very naturally or organically because it's your natural state. And there isn't anything in the way of not choosing it. So not that there really is, but if we think there is, there will appear to be. And we know the mind has this totally, we'll just let the mind do that around that because it's backwards from what we've been taught. You know, we've been taught that this is evidence, whatever's manifesting is evidence of what's true. And that's actually not how it works. What's manifesting is evidence of what we've agreed and aligned with on some level. And so we don't want to go into making ourselves wrong for that, because that just locks in everything. Because we're not wrong. There's really not a right or wrong. That's the illusion. The illusion is that we can somehow choose right or wrong. No, we just are in choice, and we can choose whatever frequency we wish to choose, and we can choose whatever possibility we wish to choose. So are you willing to allow yourself to live in possibility again, where you just give yourself all the choice without making any of it right or wrong? Because there's so much space there. And are you willing to let go of anything that's in the way of that? And so invite your higher self, your body, Davis higher self, to work with your energetic fields to begin to release all the ways in which you're trying to walk that tightrope between right and wrong, or in the right side instead of the wrong side, and you're afraid of being wrong, because there's so much restriction around that then limits how much energy you're allowing yourself to access and how much possibility you're actually accessing, and therefore it shrinks, it decreases your receptivity to your light, to your truth, to really just being who you are. And so many times it's this struggle between right and wrong in some way that's reflecting in your life as struggle. So one way you can maneuver beyond those paradigms of right and wrong, and the mind has a really challenging time with this because it wants to justify and it wants to talk about the evidence and say, well, you know, give examples of what has been and say, well, isn't right or wrong important because this person needs to go to prison, or it wants to go there with it. And what we're saying is all of that stuff that we have been experiencing is a reflection of where we've tethered into the struggle of right and wrong instead of just being who we are. And who you are would never hurt another being because you know that all life is one life and it is yourself on some level. It's not separate from you. So that's, it's like, are you just willing to kind of hold up, even if you don't understand it, this struggle with right and wrong, and choose who you are instead? Because the right and wrong conversation is a way that we plug in to the old ways of being. It's a way that we keep them. It's a way that we maintain the illusion of struggle as the only possibility. And take a deep breath. And so when we talk about the idea, this is pretty big actually, the idea of this conversation of right and wrong, it includes how you are with yourself, where you make yourself wrong for certain things or right for certain things, or where you're just really striving to be right in the eyes of others, or in the eyes of yourself, or in the eyes of God, you know, whatever that is. And the truth is that through the eyes of the divine, you just are. There's no judgment. There's no compromise of seeing you as you are. The divine sees you as your light. The divine sees you as your truth. And the example that we could bring forward here is this idea of, if you chose in this physical realm to participate in a play, a production, where you played a character, the character that you were playing on stage wouldn't be who you are. It would just be you kind of playing with a different character of you, right? Or a different, like, oh, it's kind of fun to pretend to be something I'm not. And so that's how the divine, it's the best way we can point to how the divine views us kind of bouncing around in this separation-based perception of who we are, because it's not really who we are. So we're not judged ever for pretending to be separate from source and functioning from those paradigms. It's just an act, right? And the divine knows that. The divine created you. The divine knows who you are as an infinite being. And it never compromises its vision of you as that in order to agree with you in a conclusion that isn't truth. So first of all, let's celebrate that. Let's celebrate that we can pretend all we want. We can play the game of right and wrong all we want. And the truth of who we are remains intact beyond all of it. It's never compromised. It's never diluted. It's never tainted. And we've never screwed it up. We can't screw it up. It is what it is, and it is eternal, and it will always be. The light that you are will always be. So take a deep breath around that. And are you willing to forgive and release yourself for all the things you've done, pretending to be separate from source, that the divine just sees right through because it knows it's not who you are. And it knows that all beings in truth are eternal, whole, and perfect, and will always be. No matter what's going on stage, no matter what's going on in the play or the production of our experience, behind the scenes, we are who we are in truth. We are what we are in truth. And we will always be. And that's the piece that we're being invited to step into, aligning with, that truth behind the scenes, beyond the appearances. No longer allowing our life expression, what's currently manifesting, to define us as right or wrong, because it can't. It's not the measure of that. The measure of your worth and your value and your eternal nature and your wholeness and your perfection is in your light. It's not on the screen of the stage. It's not in the reflection of what we've agreed to in an experience of separation. It never was. We're not going to find the answer there to who we are. We're going to find it within our light. We're going to find it by pulling back the curtain. So can we show you how to do that energetically? And are you willing to release any fear you have to pulling back the curtain of you and seeing behind the scenes and releasing the stories of right and wrong and simply being with who you really are in truth and the energies and the vibrations of who you really are in truth? We show you how to do that. And can we support you in that resonance, in singing your song? And take some deep breaths if you're willing to choose this. Heaven on earth is you being you fully in truth. And as you look at energetically and open to energetically vibrating in that truth, you then move into a space and a place where that can begin reflecting in your world instead of the entanglements we'd agreed to before. So in other words, we can't choose both. We can't choose separation and entanglements of not worthy or not enough and who we are at the same time. We have to choose. So it's not about figuring out the wrongness or trying to make it right. It's just about, oh, wait, let's peel back the curtain and who am I really in truth? And can I welcome alignment with that? Yes. Because it's a choice. And as you choose the truth, the other fades away. Are you willing to let it be that easy and to really lay down the struggle of efforting your way into who you are for being who you are? Can we show you what we mean by that? And you are heaven, and heaven is you in truth. You are an extension of the divine. You were created as the divine itself. Everything is contained within you. And you can think of it as this column of light emanating from source that you are. You have everything within you. Heaven is within you. Are you willing to remember that? Can we support you in rewiring your system to access it there so that your access points, your reference points for heaven is within your light. Your access points for source is within your column of light, because your column of light emanates from source. It's all connected. It's not separate. It never can be. It's impossible. And are you willing to complete all the lessons from the matrix of separation that you're ready to complete at this time? That you think you still have something to do or to learn there, but you've actually gathered up all the seeds of evolution to evolve all of those patterns, all of those systems and instabilities that we thought we had to stabilize. Can we show you how to simply, the level of your higher self, activate those masteries, those lessons as completed? And anywhere you're still attached to a story that, oh, I have to forgive this, or I have to fix this, or I have to change this about me, or improve this about me, or are you willing to release attachment to all the stories? And any special relationships you've created with specific people or energies or vibrations that you think you have to resolve or fix or change in order to be who you are you willing to hand that over to your higher self to reinterpret it to a higher octave of truth? Are you willing to release all the meaning you've given it through all incarnations? And so it could be a quality that we have resistance to as a general rule. Like it could be this quality of arrogance, or this quality of impatience, or this quality of bully energy or tyrant energy. It could be a resistance that we have to injustice or being out of integrity. Whatever we're resisting in the right and wrong system is a space and a place where we're plugging in to keeping that system going, and we're choosing it. And we're not choosing the new as a result. We're not choosing heaven on earth as a result. So can we show you and your system how to release the judgment and resistance to everything, including qualities, experiences, people, circumstances, all the conversations of right and wrong, so that you can actually move into embracing who you really are beyond all of that, and who everyone is beyond all of that? And take a deep breath. And are you willing to release any judgment or resistance or unforgiveness towards self for what you perceive is you creating the mess? Anywhere you're holding yourself in judgment or in wrongness around that, are you willing to release and uncreate that and completely forgive and release yourself from the recognition that everything we've gone through has brought us to this moment where we're ready to birth heaven on earth? We're ready to be heaven on earth without having to understand it, without having to understand why this all happened. Can we just welcome? Are you willing to welcome the energies that the divine sees it through. It's like, what if it was a part we were playing, but it wasn't who we were, and it really didn't mean anything about us, and it really didn't define what's possible for us. And take some deep breaths. So as we further step into the welcoming of what we're welcoming, it's this idea of increasing our receptivity, because as we increase our receptivity, we automatically open to what wants to flow to a greater, higher expression. It's the natural way we were designed to actually experience life. And so sometimes this can be confused. We want to just put a footnote in here. Sometimes this can be confused with us never needing to take action ever. And that's actually not what it is. It's about us aligning with this creative impulse in such a way where we released all our points of view about who we should or shouldn't experience ourselves as, and we've just kind of chosen to align with who we really are. And we allow life to unfold in a way that when we're nudged to take action around something, we follow that. We follow the impulse of creation. We call the person, or we go to the specific store we're being, nudged into, or we create the email, or we write the book, or we go for the walk, or we have the ice cream, whatever it is that the impulse is truly, the little whisper of this will create more for you, this it'll honor you. And that's cultivated, right? And the way that that's cultivated is by kind of shedding these layers to release interference of us really hearing and feeling this impulse. And so you can invite if you're one that feels like you maybe don't get the guidance or the nudges, you can invite your higher self to turn up the volume a bit more, or your guides and advisors to turn up the volume a bit more as they're giving you impressions or nudges to be a little more persistent until you cultivate that muscle, right, of being able to connect to it in an easier, more honoring way. But it's really about you desiring it, and it's really about you choosing it. And as you desire it and as you choose it, your receptivity to it will increase. So that's with anything. So work with that if that's something that you're inviting for yourself, is choosing every day to have that clarity in the guidance, and choosing for that energetic volume to be amplified a little more so you can hear it more clearly, and choosing to release anything that's in the way of that. And are you willing? And take some deep breaths. And so when we shift vibrationally, it's a process. And they show me this idea of us swimming to the surface of the water in the ocean. And if we swim to the surface too quickly, we can get bends, right? It's not honoring. You have to kind of ease your system into the difference in pressure. And the same is true as we increase our vibration, as we move into more of who we are. It's a process in order for us to welcome it in a grace and ease-filled way, where we don't go into resistance, where we don't go into another contraction around something. And so one of the qualities you could say that we could bring forward here is this idea of patience as we function in the physical realm. And so anything that brings up for you, because many of us are very aware of in other realms, when we choose something, it instantaneously shows up. There's a reason why there's a buffer here. And so can we embrace the buffer that sometimes it takes the appearance of time for a manifestation? And especially when we're doing this type of intensive vibrational clearing and elevation, it's almost like a time release capsule where, yes, you're choosing it all in this session, and then your higher self, since it's in charge because it's going to do what honors you in the best and highest way, is going to time release the shifts in a way that can be received in the right order, in the right calibrations, in the right sequence for you. And so it's moving out of the linear kind of expectations into allowing ourselves to function and embracing our multidimensional being. That we're functioning and we're being reminded to function as the multidimensional beings that we are. And therefore, it's more of a holographic experience and a multidimensional shifting that occurs in these sessions rather than a linear. And so are you willing to upgrade your relationship with manifestation and this idea of patience, where we can simply trust and know that things are going to shift in the right and perfect order, things are going to manifest in divine perfect timing because we are who we are. And if it's appearing to not gain any traction as far as manifestation, then where am I still separating from who I am, or where is it still serving me to not have this? And then you can begin to work with your higher self to clear any of the remaining layers that may be in the way of you actually relaxing a little more. And so one of the pieces that's stepping forward when we're talking about this is the idea of control, and where we want to be the ones in control. And it's challenging sometimes for us as beings to remember that our higher self is us. And because we're still kind of functioning from the ideas of separation, where we think that if we hand over that responsibility to our higher self, that we're the chooser, and then it's like, okay, you take care of it, that somehow we're losing control, or we're not going to get to have it because now it's out of our hands. It's we're at the mercy of something outside of us again. And it's not you being at the mercy of something outside of you. It's about you trusting you and you collaborating with you in a higher dimension. So can we show you that you're not giving your power away, you're not relinquishing your choice or your free will. It's you and your higher self actually have the same agenda. There's no separate agenda. The only thing your higher self wants for you is for you to be free, for you to know who you are, for you to evolve and into the remembering of your light as an extension of infinite source with infinite choice, thriving in joy and abundance. Like, that's your natural state. And so what if it's more about letting go and allowing your higher self to untangle and to lift and to accelerate you, because it's you and it has access to all the information from all incarnations that will support this elevation, but you're the chooser. In other words, it's not going to do it without your free will. So it's actually the opposite of what we think. It's like we think if we're handing it over, we're losing control or we're losing choice somehow, but it's actually the opposite. We're actually in our choice for things to shift, and then we let the higher self that can see everything have the job of sorting and lifting and elevating and shifting appropriately. So anywhere you're kind of lacking trust with yourself, can we address that on a vibrational level? And in collaboration with your higher self, anywhere you're holding mistrust for this incarnation or this realm or your body or any other relationships, are you willing to release that and allow that to move to a higher vibration and a higher interpretation? Because the trust is actually, it goes hand in hand with allowing. And allowing goes hand in hand with being completely receptive and open and allowing the flow, right, of life that wants to flow through you to bring you into a greater expression. It actually is the access point for that. And it's almost like this idea of this hose that we've maybe been running at a certain diameter for a while, and maybe it's only, two inches in diameter. And now we're inviting that to increase to 10 inches in diameter, 20 inches in diameter. So it's like 2 inches in diameter, that hose is only going to allow so much to come through. Whereas if we increase it to 10 inches or 20 inches, we're going to be allowing so much more infinite support to come through. So can we show you what we mean by that? And are you willing to increase your receptivity by inviting your higher self to do that for you? And are you willing to release attachments to stories around it not being safe to do that? It's like anywhere you're afraid you're going to be oppressed or suppressed by some outside force and lose your free will if you actually open and relax and trust. So can we bring in the appropriate downloads for each of you that are unique to each of you to support you in moving into greater receptivity and releasing stories of not being able to trust or any fear-based systems that may not even be ours around having to shut down and contract and not receive. And take a deep breath. So what if who you are is actually in infinite receptivity 24/7? And it's in a state of allowing. It's in a state of non-judgment. That's its natural state. There isn't right or wrong. There's just choice. Are you willing to remember what that feels like? And are you willing to remember who you are as an infinite being who's infinitely supported in this realm, in all dimensions, by the divine, by source, because it's part of you. It can never leave you. It's contained within you. And take a deep breath. Can we invite the part of you that knows to actually pull that forward in your awareness, in your energy, where you're actually accessing source within your being because it's you, because you're it, because there isn't separation. It just is. And since you're already one with this light, with this infinite source, infinite possibilities, are you willing to choose from that place and live from that place and be that version of you? Will you let it be easy? What if you were never really intended by your creator to struggle? And it's time to kind of lay down that mechanism as a way of evolving in exchange for relaxing and allowing and really merging into the you that already exists in a higher dimension, that already knows you're one with an infinite source, that you already have access to infinite. There's nothing you have to fix or change or prove. You're already whole, you're already perfect, you're already free, you're already loved and seen and heard and acknowledged and supported and safe. What if that is what's actually true and everything else has been kind of enacted on a stage as a character because we thought we were something else, and therefore we experienced the something else? Are you willing to exchange that for what's actually true without judgment? We can bow to it. We can honor it for teaching us what it taught us. And we can now choose, because we have the clarity. Oh, wait, that isn't me. How amazing is that, that you have that clarity, that that isn't you? Woo! Do you know how many lifetimes it took you to get to this point? Are you willing to celebrate that? And because you've spent so many lifetimes kind of with the punching bag, and like I mentioned, one of those blow up things that you punch it and it kind of pops right back up at you. You've spent so many lifetimes trying to get rid of that version of you that you just forgot you could just relax into who you are. And we've made it to a place in our evolution where that's the step we're on. We can just relax into who we are. And the matrices, the grid systems for oneness, for truth, for who you are, already exist. And you're now in vibrational proximity to them, or you wouldn't be hearing these words. You wouldn't be on this call in this session. And you can choose it. You can say, higher self, let's run the grids of oneness. Let's run the grids and the systems of who I really am instead. And celebrate, oh my gosh, I'm so grateful that I've crossed this threshold into being able to access this in a very grace and ease filled way, in a very obvious way, because I can clearly see that was just separation consciousness and it doesn't have anything to do with who I am. And I can stop trying to make it have something to do with who I am. I can release all the meaning and I can choose to be who I am instead. And then I can allow and open and know that in a time release way, the divine's going to carry me into this new expression because I've chosen it. Because no one else can choose for me but me. And I've chosen it. If you've chosen it. And there's no right or wrong. So now we're going to support you, if you're willing, in bringing in some codes that are unique to you, that are really little bundles that you left for yourself for when you got to this place on your journey. And you said, when I get this far, I'm going to remember this. I'm going to receive these vibrations to move me into the next phase of my evolution with grace and ease. So are you willing to receive that? And again, these are all unique to each of you, and it's from you to you. All right, take a deep breath. And I wonder how much more we could expand together. I wonder how much more we can remember together. I wonder how much grace and ease we can actually create together as we evolve and remember and shift into the vibrations of our truth and sing our songs. And are you willing to do that? Are you willing to welcome that for you in whatever way it shows up for you? And take a deep breath. So they're inviting you to share gratitude with yourself for choosing to participate in this session. And we're still bringing in some divine frequencies and support to kind of hold and anchor and almost like create a cocoon to support you in this attunement, to support you in what you've chosen to remember. And trust and know that this can happen beyond your conscious mind. This can happen with grace and ease in other dimensions, and then reflect to here where you just wake up tomorrow and you feel different, or you wake up in a week and everything shifted, or maybe it's a month. And this is a very auspicious time where we are, as we're in the midst of August right now, as we're preparing to welcome September. September is a really powerful time for us to begin to tangibly call in and manifest what it is that we are choosing to honor us if you're choosing it. So that's the thing. You have to be willing to choose it. You don't have to be willing to choose it, but if you choose it, then the rubber can meet the road. So a lot of times what we forget is our power of choice. And we're waiting for this to change, and we think we're in allowing, but we haven't actually chosen so that this can change. So what we did today, and what these sessions always do, is they give us a forum to remember to choose and to bring forth the choices that would support us in the highest and best way in moving into more honoring, more honoring, more honoring, more truth. And so we love to have you in these sessions with us, but there's many ways that you can cultivate this for yourself. This is one way. And if it resonates for you to do so, we encourage you to join us again and to continue to journey with us, because it's our honor to support you in this way. But find a way that resonates for you and consistently use it. It's like if we don't pick up the tool, or we don't, it's not that we can choose it and then not choose it for a month and expect things to be different, because we're always choosing, even if it's not consciously. So what can happen is we choose it on a conscious level, and then we step out of our kind of driver's seat a little bit, and we start to default into old ways of being, and that's also a choice. So we really would like for you to, whoa, I get it, right? So we have to create a way, or we can choose to create a way, if it honors us, to, at least for me, I'm speaking from my own experience, that for me it was helpful to create a way that I was consistently choosing to be conscious about my choices. And so whatever that is for you, you can replay this session as many times as you'd like. We're going to post the replay later on today, and on our YouTube channel and our Facebook. And so you can access the replay as many times as you want, and even play it in the background. These transmissions carry a vibrational frequency and an attunement that is multidimensional in nature. So each time you listen, it can actually activate and realign different aspects of your multidimensional self. In addition, it can help create in your environment the vibrational cocoon that supports you in moving to higher frequencies and into more truth of who you are, as an awareness, because it first happens in frequency, and then it will pop in as, oh, of course, right? Or you just feel different, or you feel more empowered, or you feel more safe. And then that gets to reflect in your world as, I am empowered, I am safe, I am supported, as a tangible experience. And again, sometimes we're stepped into it gradually, but if you're choosing it, it's happening. And that's really the piece they're stepping forward with here. If you're choosing it, you're choosing it, because no one else can choose for you, and no one can stop you from having it but you. So are you willing to move into that much empowerment of you, where you no longer try to project responsibility onto something outside of you for you choosing it, but you actually take that seat as the chooser? And take a deep breath. So they're bringing this forward now. I know we're going to go over here. We often do, but it's like when we start a session, plus this session is kind of a precursor to the 3-day virtual immersion that we're offering. So I know it's bridging us into that. So I'm just going to follow the energy, and the immersion will pick up from where we leave off. I know it will. It always does. It amazes me how it does it. I don't know why it amazes me, but it does. It's one of the things I find fun about being in service in this way. So the piece that's stepping forward now is this space of, are you really willing to live as your empowered self? Whoa. And what would it actually feel like for you to live as your empowered self? And so we're giving a moment just to allow the part of you that knows what that is to step forward. I can feel it happening if you're choosing it. Just allow yourself to feel into your own resonance with it and whether or not you wish to choose it for you. And it's really, this piece that we're doing in this moment is really just about opening our system to remembering what that is in its fullness, in its unaltered state, in its pure state, our empowered self. So just giving a moment to allow that energetic aspect of you to remind you of who you are in a fully empowered state. And are you willing to step into that for you? To begin to allow that energetic bridge between you and you to carry you over into who you are as the empowered being of light that you truly be. So everywhere you're using to pretend to be disempowered in order to stay safe, in order to stay hidden, in order to whatever, function in separation consciousness, which we no longer need to do, right? We can now choose oneness. Are you willing to release and uncreate that? And invite your higher self to unplug you from that matrix into the matrix of oneness, into the new systems of love, of truth. As the empowered being of light that you are, that knows who it is, that knows who you are as fully empowered, and doesn't believe the other stuff anymore. And it's not from a place of resistance. So it's not judging the disempowerment as needing to go away. It's just choosing the empowerment because it's one of infinite choices that I have. And if I have infinite choices and infinite being, I choose to know who I am as fully empowered and to have that experience of myself. So are you willing to invite your higher self to activate that for you and to activate, it's almost like bring in all the lessons we were trying to learn or we did learn from the disempowerment, whether it's feeling disempowered in relationship to our life, to money, to career, to others, to certain situations, whatever it is, to conditions, to addictions. Are you willing to release and uncreate any resistance or judgment anywhere we're trying to do something with the experience of disempowerment in order to allow your higher self to garner all those lessons that we were meant to learn and to activate the mastery of those lessons now? As simply a choice to know who you are as fully empowered. And we would invite you to feel into whether or not, regardless of what we've experienced, does it feel true that I am a fully empowered being of light? So we're no longer trying to use the manifestations as a way to gauge what's true, right? We totally release our attachment to what has been. Doesn't mean anything except what I gave it meaning to in the past. So in this now moment, is it true that I'm an empowered being of light? Is that really the truth of who I am? And I wonder what it would feel like to live as that moving forward and to step into the driver's seat and to be the chooser that collaborates with my higher self to manifest heaven on earth as an experience, to be the energies of heaven, meaning I'm aligned with, I'm agreeing with, I'm choosing to know that's who I am so that it can become my experience. And are you willing to make that more significant than what's manifesting? In other words, are you willing to allow us to step forward your relationship with what you're being, with what you're truly being, to be more significant than what's showing up in the outer world? Are you willing to release the significance to the outer, not trying to make it wrong or bad or not real? Just, you know what? What's important is that I, within myself, connect to and commune with what I really am. Are you willing to step into that, to begin to welcome that for you? Because as we make this the priority, what we're connecting to within ourselves, what we're choosing to see ourselves as, to relate to ourselves as, this being of light that's already whole, that's already perfect, and to commune with our light that's eternal, that's within our being. And we make that the priority. It's equivalent to seek ye first the kingdom and all else shall be added. So we can release our attachment to what does or doesn't manifest and how much time it takes, and totally surrender to committing to our light, being true to our light, being in the priority of our light as the priority, and remembering that we are light as the priority. Everything else can then begin to write itself, to reinterpret itself based on what you're choosing to align and agree with as you. This is the being heaven that we're pointing to. You already are heaven. Will you remember it? Beautiful. So you're invited to continue to welcome this. And if it feels light and honoring and empowering and liberating for you to join us for the 3-day immersion, we'd love to have you as a part of it. And so we're doing a 3-day immersion September 20th through the 22nd, and it's virtual. And we're going to do it through this interface, but it's going to be interactive. So we're going to have Q&A and a dialogue, and we're going to have components that are just a transmission. And it's going to be a beautiful dance together into more of who we are, into an expansion. You're also going to be able to have those recordings to listen to as many times as you wish, over and over, to play in the background and to marinate in the vibrations. So feel into whether or not it's a yes for you. We are offering a bit of a price break through the end of August. And so if it resonates for you, we encourage you to sign up and to say your yes. And the beauty about energy exchange is that as soon as you commit with your yes, you begin to receive, you begin to be prepared, you begin to be crossing the bridge into what we're going to be cultivating together for those 3 days. And it's really yummy when I connect to it. It's called Light Up Your Being, but it's really just about, they give you a taste of it at the end, which is not surprising to me. It's really about stepping into you as an empowered being of light and identifying as that. And we're going to look at different aspects of that and really move through together any resistance we might have or anything that's keeping us from that experience of ourselves in the thriving of you as an infinite being. And so, and there's so much more I know that we're gonna do, because it depends on the group, and the group really, it's a co-creation. And you know, we do a monthly group as well called Expanding New Ways of Being, and that group has its own energy, and every group has its own energy. This group has its own energy. And I know the Expanding Ways of Being group has this consistent energy of being on this leading edge and always calling in the new tools, the new insights. And that's one of the reasons I love facilitating it. But this immersion feels like a focus on stepping into the certainty of you as a being of light, where everything else that creates from that, because you're then choosing from that, it's like they're just showing grace and ease. It's like you're almost commanding yourself into alignment with everything unfolding for you in alignment with honoring you. So I'm excited about it, but I'm also open to it becoming something even more than that, because as the group forms itself, it expands and the energies expand, and there's always a greater contribution to be had. So the more the merrier. So you can learn more about that on our website at embracingtheinfinite.com, and also through the Facebook for Embracing the Infinite. We're also going to share, we decided this time we want to offer the opportunity for someone who wants to attend but may not see a way for financially to be able to do that, to actually win a seat. And so we're going to offer those of you who share this video on Facebook, we're going to have it posted on Facebook within probably the next couple of hours, and comment on the video, like the video, and share it, is an entry into being able to win a seat at the table for this immersion. And we'll announce the winner September 1st. And so each time you share it, you basically, it's like entering your name. So you can share it as many times as you'd like, and we just encourage you to follow your guidance as to whether or not that may be your path to your yes, if it honors you. And it's also kind of playful and fun. So we do want to also just share our gratitude for those of you who do help support in getting the word out, because that's normally how people find us, is through you beautiful beings. So thank you for, you know, extending these lines of energy for people to follow if it resonates for them. The other thing I want to mention is we do have a YouTube channel that you can find past videos if it resonates for you to explore different topics, and it kind of all is on this foundation of remembering who you are, but it's pointed to in different ways. So feel free to check out our YouTube channel, and you can learn more again at embracingtheinfinite.com about that and other offerings that will become available as we continue to serve in this way. So thank you so much for your willingness to say yes to your power, to your truth, to your abundance, to your freedom. And may you continue to choose what honors you in an empowered way. Much love to each of you. And again, I'm just being shown the Council of Light, honoring you, acknowledging you as the infinite being of light that you are, and thanking you for your service in this realm at this time. So much love to each of you, and many blessings.